All right. Okay, that's good. Okay. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Rat Karate Productions. This is a recap of the pre-merge. We have been able to do them. I figured it'd be a bit easier with the erotic of the Outcast twist. We only have two of us here. Marvin couldn't make it, so we have Elijah, who is our confessional people and member of production. Elijah, hello.
Hello, I'm the better version of Marvin, basically.
We'll see what he says about that when he sees this. He's not gonna watch it. Anyway, yeah, we get kicked off. So the first thing we have here is we get kicked off. We first of all, little should we go into detail about our wonderful expedition that was getting this mini to get running?
Yeah, I mean, for the people who want to listen to the recaps, we might as well reward them with a little bit of behind the scenes.
Yeah, I think we had what, three people that just didn't show up and nothing, and we're like, we. So the people that didn't base it in, I mean, I think they know because of the what do you call it, but yeah, we were scrambling for what was close to an hour to find our three replacements. Luckily, one of them had an application in Tanner, and I knew Tanner had kept his day open, so I was lucky about that. And yeah, it was and we actually had Garrett, who Bill pulled in and said, "Hey, like, if you need someone last minute of your day, I'm your guy," and was able to basically, he said, "I'm not doing that anything that day. I'm not sure if I really want to commit, but if you need some, I'm your guy." So luckily, we had Garrett. Um, Marvin is able to get Cody, but yeah, it was a lot. We basically had to sit there for like an hour, be like, well, what are we gonna do here? Three people weren't able to show up. Obviously, they've explained to me since, and all valid reasons, but happens. But then we get into it right away. We did something a little different than we did our previous season. We had everyone just go down and say a fun fact for themselves. Just probably thinking this is typical org stuff. Everyone, oh, say a fun fact for itself, just a little icebreaker. But it wasn't really for an icebreaker, was it? You want to go ahead and explain what we did?
No, we had a little bit of a twist right out of the gate where we have a 16-person cast, but only 14 of the people were on camera introducing themselves. We had two spectators, and those spectators revealed themselves to be Andrew and Alex, returning from the first season. And since we had two of them, we wanted them to be captains for each of their respective tribes. We did a little number game to decide who would go first. Alex won that, and he decided to pick his tribe first. And so we'll get right into the picks. The first person he chose for his tribe was Nick. Andrew chose Becky, and we went down the line, and eventually we ended up with these tribes. On the Ankla tribe, captained by Alex, it was himself, Nick, Amy, Tanner, Bennett, Andy, Ben, and Garrett. And then on the Loro tribe, which Andrew was captaining, it was himself, Becky, Luke, Mitchell, Austin, Miles, Hart, and Cody. And so that's how the tribes were formed. If you want to go into the what happened afterwards.
Yeah, so those are formed. We go ahead and explain our season. No revotes. Shot in darks, which gets very interesting. We'll get to that later. But stuff like this doesn't look interesting. We say, hey, if you want advantages, you have to DM me. Whatever. Then we say, all right, let's get into your challenge. We decided to do a scavenger hunt, and shout out to Captain Andrew, on the season who actually stole. I played his mini 2 weeks before this, and our scavenger hunt was a mess before it. So I messaged him the day. I was like, hey, stole one of your challenges. Hope you don't mind. Haha. And he's like, nah, it's fine. I told him like that afterwards. He's like, no, good thing you. Yeah, I told him what the challenge was supposed to be afterwards. Like, good thing you did because that was a lot easier. So basically, the original what we're gonna do is we're gonna try to have them take things to spell out Bayoneta, but then we're like that no. So we scrapped it. We get into a challenge. Basically, it's a scavenger hunt. Everyone goes at once. You have to bring out a letter, like the first letter, for example, is B. You have to bring back something with letter B. And if someone else brings back something with letter B that is the same, so like, and I'll do it with a K, for example, that we use from the thing. If you brought someone brought a keyboard, that counts. But if someone brought back a keychain and a key, the key those cancel out because they're two separate words. So like stuff like that, if you brought back something with the same word, if you brought like a red cup and a red index card or something, you cast. I had the same first word, it was out. And yeah, this challenge got kind of interesting. It looked like it was me a blowout there for a while. I mean, that first round, I think Anglo scored what, a point.
Yeah, well, actually, I think pretty much everyone got a point on the first round. I think the only thing that happened was Garrett's little bee tile
And be you can talk about
that
that
he
for a second.
tried to. Yeah,
Ready?
he
Hold on.
tried to pull a little sneaky on
Hold
us.
on, hold on. I'm a teacher. This is a B learning tile that teachers use. I'm a preschool teacher. This is a B learning tile. I just wrote the and
It
ultimately
looks
Bill got
very official.
it looked very it did look very official. It was cut up nicely and
Yeah,
everything.
he almost fooled us. He almost
He
fooled
almost
us,
fooled us,
and
and then
Bill.
Bill's like, Gary, I have a question. He's like, yeah, what's up? Did you just write that? He's like, I absolutely did. And we were just like, no, like we can't let that fly. Like, had it actually been like, hey, this is an actual learning tile I teach my kids, yeah, I can't. Then I'd probably been like, all right, I'll let you get away with it. But no, you just, I mean, I can do. Look, I just wrote this a B index card. Like I could do that. Like and it counts. Like come on, anyone could do that. So yeah.
Yeah,
Oh
so luckily we caught that, and after round one, Laura was up 8-7. And then we go into round two, which is a little bit more interesting. We had a couple things cancel out. So Amy and Mitchell both brought back some alcohol things, so those ended up canceling out. Um, Garrett and Ben both brought back something to do with apples. And that was especially bad because they were on the same tribe.
yeah.
So that's pretty much what caused them to lose. And Nick also brought back a Wi-Fi password,
Oh yeah, that's
which
right. The A gate. I was like
okay,
a gate,
yes,
and I was like,
yeah, he was trying to pass that off. That was kind of a gray area, but we decided to not allow that.
yeah,
And since he was another one for Ankla, that means that
yeah,
Laura was well ahead at the end of that
yeah,
round.
yeah, exactly. I mean, I could. I think it's more like, but they gave Wi-Fi password. I think if we gave it to him, it'd be better than the learning tile that Gary tried to pull around before. But like, I was like, it's
Yeah,
not. It
it's
was a
weird. I
gray.
mean, the thing he actually brought was just a slip of paper or whatever. So that
Right.
doesn't really count as the
Right.
thing. So I think we made the right call. It didn't end up mattering in the end, as Laura got to 15 points, and that's all
Yeah.
they needed. So
Yeah.
they
No,
ended up winning.
I think it was 12-15, so his point wouldn't
Yeah,
matter anyway.
something
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah. So ultimately, if we get in, we watch Ankla and they were just kind of chit chatting, getting to know each other a little bit. I really forget what it was. If you want to go ahead, you have notes on it because I don't be honest.
Yeah, well, for the winning tribe, Laura, they didn't really
Uh,
do much. They just did some introductions. This was
uh,
also the time where Miles got his idol. So that's a little bit of an important
yeah,
development. I mean, at this point, with the merge just coming up, he hasn't played it yet, so he has
yeah,
that going into the merge.
yeah,
It's something he got right at the very first challenge, and
yeah.
something he's been able to hold on to.
I'll touch on it. Literally, as soon as B, immediately, immediately. I'm like sitting there like B and like Miles just all I've seen is like Miles just in like this very discreetly has a message while everyone's out getting their stuff. Miles is like the first one back and just boom like that
Oh, he did it
as
during the challenge.
during the challenge like immediately like he was like one of the first one back and he was like the parrot in Bill's picture and just immediately got it like
Wow.
within seconds. Yeah, it was pretty amazing that he found it that so quickly, which is kind of funny considering we'll get to Uncle Idol, the Uncle Idol when that was found. How I didn't think it was that obvious. I thought it was pretty obvious, but
Yeah.
yeah, but yeah, that was the only thing that was really important we got from Laura. Everyone just kind of getting ready to know each other. We get, of course, a very polarizing confessional from Cart, who was just like already out of the gate. You know,
Yeah,
I'm
I
watching.
mean,
Good, good.
yeah, I mean, Hart definitely came to play in
Yeah,
this mini, but I mean, you know, he always does.
yeah,
And in terms of confessionals from the winning tribe, we didn't get much. We got the start of Cody hating his tribe already in the first episode.
what do they do already?
Yeah, I don't
I think
know.
I think that he doesn't know them, so that's why he hates them. But
Yeah,
okay.
and they're old, I think is what he said.
Uh, I mean, look at this tribe. I'm trying to think. I think Miles is younger than him.
Yeah, Mitchell's younger than him too.
Yeah, Mitchell is younger than him. Becky's not much older than me, so I
Yeah,
think
I mean, Hart's like 20 something, right?
Hart's 30. Hart's
I
30,
was
but
he's
he's
20 something.
21. Don't let he's
Yeah.
21. He's 21. Yeah, but like look at it. I mean, I think Andrew's the oldest in that tribe, and I think he's 34 or 35. Like
Yeah.
that's not that old. So yeah. I mean, just absolutely great. Oh no, Luke's 40. He made it. No, I
Oh,
mean, let's
right.
talk about that. Yeah. In the beginning, Luke said he's 40. He made it. Like, yeah, but it was really funny just to watch and be like, these people are old, and they're like, I'm like, dude, they're 4 years older than you, like, just completely. We'll get more into
Yeah.
Cody because definitely, think, unfortunately, we know Cody does go. If you're watching this, it's not a spoiler. You should be watching the episodes first. But Cody does end up going into the pre-merge, but definitely the character of the pre-merge was Cody
Yeah.
here, and we'll get a
What a
lot.
great addition.
It really was great last minute addition we had, and just we'll talk a lot more about Cody's game as we go forward in the episodes. But yeah, we went to losing tribe, and this is what could have been an easy vote turned into a mess, turned into an easy vote. And we see my man Garrett. I love Garrett. Just overly paranoid. We see this ultimately in both his episodes he's in. Just like it's me, I'm the last of Dim Edition. I don't think I think had Garrett not been paranoid, he probably wasn't going anywhere here, like at all. Like I think he could have easily integrated, but he was just now last minute edition. I'm paranoid. These people got this hawk and overworked it. Ultimately, we see he gets lucky because we see in Alex confessional, everyone's in a room together, and Tanner goes, "I lost this footage. This footage is somewhere, but it was so short I couldn't clip it right." I was like, "So, Ben, or Bennett, you said you wanted to vote for Garrett, right?" And everybody's in the room, and everyone's just like, "Tanner, what are you doing, buddy?" So then they're like, "All right, let's go break up." And then this is when we see so we're gonna vote for Tanner, which is actually what it seems like in the moment. That's what it seems like. But looking back, we see Ben was originally trying to target that way anyway, wasn't going to get the numbers, and said, "Oh look, now I can get the numbers." And we see Ben kind of really taking advantage of this move here and take a prod of an opportunity to get rid of someone like this. And I mean, I love Tanner, but when you have someone that chaotic and mini who you just know is going to walk into the breaker room and be like, "This is the plan." I mean,
Yeah, I mean, in a mini, it's like, especially for the first round when you know, haven't really gotten to know each other, you just want to latch on to the one thing, one reason where you can vote someone out. And if you make that big of a mistake, you know, saying someone's name when they're in the same room in front of everyone, that's something that a lot
yeah.
of people could get on board for, and then that's what ended up happening.
I mean, I've seen people in long games go into tribe chat and say they're voting who they're voting for. So, and it's bit them in the ass. So I think regardless, if you're gonna do that, you better be
Yeah.
prepared to be voted out.
My favorite is when you accidentally send your vote to the main chat and everyone sees.
The quote, Curtis, um, the Curtis, Julio. At least it wasn't a dick pic. Sometimes that's, but yeah, that's definitely happened. But yeah, when you have something like that, I think 9 out of 10 people are gonna cut it. Like, yeah,
Yeah. And during this round, we also sort of see the formation of the tribe dynamics for Ankla.
yeah,
Of course, Garrett, you know, sort of put himself on the bottom by by saying he was paranoid and all that, but he's definitely on the bottom. And we see a formation of a four-person alliance on this tribe, that being Ben, Alex, Amy, and Bennett. And this is
mm,
a four-person alliance that all the members seem to want to work with
right,
throughout the pre-merge at least, and it's something that they formed very early on. And you know, with Tanner going home in the first episode, you know that four-person alliance has the majority in the tribe.
right, yeah. So we end up going to tribal. It's 7-1 Tanner. Tanner becomes first boot. We don't. Tanner's told something, but we cut off the recording on purpose here for this first. Matt forgot to say, "Matt, I love you dearly." Matt's my best friend in the whole entire world. Not the brightest. He forgot to say because Julia had to step out for a minute to go do something, go to a college meeting. He forgot to say the line for Tanner, so I had to text Tanner the line and be like, "Julia, you bet if it's not you, you better be taking this next exit confessional, and you better say it." So yeah, we see that. Ultimately Tanner is like, whatever, leaves, and we get right into it. Come back to, and then we leave our episode. Ultimately, you see Tanner's out, and then we go right back into it. We come back to our second challenge. We tell everyone Tanner was voted out. We get into a little bit of a charades challenge here. Um, Basically, what it was sports themed like last time. So, which Elijah, I'm sure, loves after his traumatizing experience from last season. If you watch that, but yeah, we just had to mix it up, make it a little bit shorter. Ultimately, bit us in the ass. So we couldn't get the words fast enough. So we had to do a tiebreaker. Ultimately, and even without the tiebreaker, Laurel nearly loses this challenge. I mean, Ankla, once I got the words, were killing it. And Hart there almost. And we'll see later in Hart's confessionals. I better not be voted out for this. Like Hart almost screwed himself over there with that challenge. Like he was, I don't know if he would have gone home, but like that was quite a mess up there. And you see, like, Uncle Laura pose out the first time. We go into a breakout around me, Marvin, and Bill end up discussing. Let's give three tiebreaker. They said the same words. I said no, we had to change the words because the people who are listening would know the words because we don't mix them up. We put them in different order. Ultimate, and we'll get to that because they actually Laura tribe actually had the advantage by doing that. We give them the tiebreaker. Ultimately, Laura once again wins immunity. Yeah, we just get into it. We get one of the my favorite, like one of the best episode titles I think I've seen in a long time in Org from Heart. You want to care to share?
Listen, if you put Hart into an org, he's gonna get at least 3 or 4 episode titles.
Yeah.
And so this one was look at my hot ass figure, as he was trying to portray the figure skating and motioning to his figure, to which Luke did not understand. And
Yeah.
another thing I want to mention about this whole debacle, not just the fact that Hart took forever to give Luke the clues, but this also happened to be where Bill accidentally sent the word to the wrong person. So he sent it to Becky on the other
Yeah.
tribe, and it was also figure skating. So you had Hart and Becky both acting acting out the figure skating for
Yeah.
Luke, and Becky couldn't tell that she wasn't supposed to be
Yeah.
going, so she just kept on going.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, eventually we got to the result, and Laura ended up winning. But that was just a mess of a challenge, and it was amazing. It was glorious.
Right. No, yeah, he was fun. It was funny. It was cool. We see them just kind of chilling out, and then we just, they just that's very short, very to the point, and then we don't get really anything interesting. They're just in there. We get Hart being like, the motherfuckers better not target me because I'm fucking figure skating. Once
Yeah,
again, being polarizing as all hell.
yeah. I
Uh,
think most of the tribe understood, and they didn't want to blame Hart, except except for Cody, who in his confessional was like, "There was one person who messed up the challenge." And so this is where you start to see the sort of rivalry between Cody and Hart that might play out in the next couple episodes.
yeah,
But other than that,
yeah,
classic winning tribe stuff. They haven't even gone to tribal yet,
yeah,
so they're just chilling, playing code names.
yeah. They are. They're chilling, playing code names and everything. And Miles like, can I share my screen? I was like, yeah, you can. He's like, can I message him link? I was like, no, you can message me a link and I'll share it. And they sat there just played code names. I mean, hey, nothing better to do. It was taking us a while to get through confessionals those few rounds. So, um, then we get right into the Anklet tribe, and all it is Garrett going, "I know it's me, I know it's me." I'm like, dude, maybe say, "Hey, what's a name I can throw out?" I mean, you see him trying at the end with Nick, but it's like you're doing it with the
Yeah.
person who's also on the bottom with you, which we'll get to later because amazing play by Nick to save himself at the
hmm
in a few rounds from now. But like we see it,
Yeah, I think
yeah,
with Garrett, it was a little bit too little, too late. I think he definitely should have been a little bit more aggressive. I think his pitch was just like telling everyone that, you know, you should keep me around because I'm fine being the decoy vote. But maybe that's not so strong of a pitch when they could just vote you out. And so, we see Garrett pitching a little bit to Nick at the end, but I think if he tried to figure out who was maybe at the top of the pecking order and tried to, convince that person to maybe go a different way, then something else
yeah,
could have happened. Or if he tried to make a more concrete plan instead of just
yeah,
saying, oh, keep me.
yeah.
So yeah.
The thing it's too like I noticed in the footage, he was 9 times out of 10 in the same breakout room,
Mhm.
constantly in the same breakout room, just not moving around. I feel like he was just like a. And I'm very curious too because we'll do his exits probably tomorrow at this point. What he has to say about it all. Everything went down with a stuff being modeled and everything, but like I think I'm curious what he's gonna think about like what he thinks he should have done because that was just I think he very disappointed to see Garrett go here. We see ultimately he goes. because I think he could have got some ground running. I think he would have been okay. I think ultimately you see that the majority of Ankla will see the next time they go tribal from here, they start to turning on each other. So I think had Garrett been able to survive this and thrown maybe Nick underneath the bus the others, maybe I think he stands a much better chance here than he would have if he just, you know,
Hmm.
instead of trying to work with Nick, who's already on the bottom. It just, yeah, it was,
Yeah, I agree. I think most of the damage he did was from the first round, where I think by him like sort of being paranoid and saying he kept saying, "Oh, I was the last minute addition, I was the last minute addition." It sort of became a self-fulfilling prophecy of,
yeah,
the other people were just like, "Okay, I guess you are on the bottom then."
right.
Whereas if he tried to integrate from the start, maybe the dynamics could have changed. And this is so we get to the vote count, and this is the second tribal in a row where people were throwing votes on other people just in case of a shot in the dark. I believe in the first tribal there were
No,
actually I think let me check. I
yeah,
think
there
there were
was,
actually two
it's two
votes for
votes and
Garrett.
Nick. Yeah, it's two votes Garrett. That's right.
Yeah.
It was 6-2. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, because in the first tribal, Nick threw a vote on Garrett just in case the shot in the dark was played. It wasn't. And then in this tribal, Bennett threw a vote on Nick just in case Garrett played a shot in the dark. He did play a
Which,
shot in the dark, and it ended up being unsuccessful. He was the first person to ever play one, as no one played it last season. I probably should have. But anyways, that's
yeah,
besides the point.
it's,
He ended up playing the shot in the dark,
right.
and it was unsuccessful. So we did see Garrett go in a 5-1
Yeah.
vote.
And I'll say, like, yeah, ultimately, I think I don't know if how many people, these people actually watched the last season, but we saw the narrative last season too. Be I should have played my shot in dark. I should have played my shot in dark. So I think just right out of the gate here, being like, and we'll get to the shot in dark soon, but we see ultimately Garrett plays it. I mean, you gotta do or die. I mean, I was just watching it last season. And it was just me more up there like, why aren't you people playing it? Like, I think it's a shitty twist, but at the same time, it separates the good players from bad players because if you're good enough, you're not going to use your shot in dark. But if but it also shows awareness of game. And I think it's an interesting twist, but like I said, if you
Yeah,
need it,
I think
good.
yeah, I think it's a pretty good twist. Not necessarily just for what it is, but like, for how people have to play around it because it sometimes forces people to, do vote splits or like throw a vote here and there. And we see that happen a lot in this season. And then also you have the chance of it actually hitting, which is just an amazing moment as
We
we'll
will
get
get
to
to.
soon.
We will get to. Yeah. No, but yeah, ultimately you see Garrett comes voted out. We get to confessional, and Julia comes on and says something very interesting. Do you want me to share, or do you want to?
Go ahead, go ahead.
But he said, I have a script ready. So he goes, so Garrett, you may have been voted out, but the journey has not ended. And Garrett's in there laughing. He's like, oh, I'm going to cause havoc if I get back this game. These people are going to hate me. So yeah, we have this quote that Matt was supposed to say after Tanner, but now we have the twist, which we know is the Outcast twist, which we'll get to a little bit later. But yeah, we see Garrett like laughing and getting all happy, like, oh, they don't know what they're getting into. Um, but yeah, Garrett becomes our second person voted out, and we get right into it, which funny thing is you see me um after doing some stuff, had to put the clip in, not knowing that Elijah had in his recordings. I looked through all me and Marvin's, Elijah's twice, somehow missed it. But we do have the recording of that challenge explanation. We play something called Brains versus Bronze, which is a three puzzles, the die stacking. I don't know what you consider that. I will say dexterity. It's close enough to a puzzle. It's a dexterity challenge. Um, but we have the word search and the jigsaw. So they go jigsaw, dice stack, word search in that order. While three bronze are holding soda cans. I don't have any near me, but hold soda cans like this. Ultimately, Mitchell hacked it a little bit. We'll get to that. Didn't work out very well for him. But yeah. Well, there were one. We had a downward dog and a plank. Which first things first, I can do a meme plank for like 3 to 4 minutes, but can we 2 to 3 minutes maybe max? But can we talk about how these men did it for like 3 to 4 minutes? It was what Bennett and who
Bennett
was
and
Andrew
Andrew.
Andrew. Yeah, I mean, come on,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, it was interesting. I mean, Bennett, the collegiate ping pong player, I mean, we shouldn't be surprised. He's an athlete. and of course Andrew, the personal trainer. It was a little bit interesting. I was watching Laura during this challenge, and like I could tell Andrew was like struggling a little bit. And like when Mitchell would fall, Andrew would like purposely, like take a break until Mitchell got back up again,
Yeah.
so he could, take a little bit of a rest from his plank. And so we did end up seeing Mitchell drop his soda cans twice. I guess because of bad grip, or was there a hack you wanted to talk about?
Yeah, he was in there like he was holding them like this to kind of hold them in pressure. Because we said you had to hold them together, but he never said you had to
Hmm.
hold it like this. He was
Right.
holding them together like this. So Ben had to constrain the pressure all together, right?
Hmm.
The pressure was all at one point, where Mitchell had the pressure at 2 to 3 different points. He was
Yeah.
holding like this, so he didn't have the best grip. And
Hmm.
ultimately, we see like where Ben is able just to sit here. And as someone who's good at endurance, you want all your balance to be in one place. You don't
Hmm.
want it all. You see that, or you can see that he's moving around. He's not getting the right grip. And you can just tell that like this is not going to end well for Laura ultimately. Which I mean, we know what happens. Laura does finally lose a challenge, but I mean, this is a mixture. I would argue of both Mitchell and Cody. I
Yeah, I
think,
mean, Cody was on his phone, there were ads popping up on top of the maze, and then also he was, a little bit slow finding the words on the word search. It did end up coming down to that last word search for both tribes, so
yeah.
could have been the determining factor.
I think I doubled. I have the times. I think it took a Cody almost triple what it took Alex.
Wow.
Yeah,
So yeah.
I I remember just sitting here and I'm like Marvin's like I'm done. I'm like Cody's still going. And I'm like oh they're losing this challenge. Like I remember Marvin be like
Yeah.
we're. I remember Marvin sent the screenshot to the chat and I was like oh. He's like are you guys still going? And I'm like yeah. And he's like so they're gonna lose. I'm like yeah. And I was like there's already two penalties too at that point. So I was like we knew it was gonna happen. We had to let them finish. And I just remember I cut off the recording. I was like, all right, back to the main room. And I remember seeing their faces. They're like, oh, this is. Some of them are like, this is not good. Other ones, for some reason, who is? I think Mitchell said, oh, I thought we were good.
Of course he did.
Of course, it's Mitchell. We'll get to Mitchell.
Yeah, that's the
Zach's,
story of his game.
yeah, I thought we were good. Like, ew. I don't think anyone. I think everyone knew they were screwed there except for Mitchell. Like, but yeah, we see that it was even close. I think it was like a 2 minute, almost 2 minute difference. I have the I don't know if I have the times written down, but it was yeah, it wasn't even close. I mean, let me double I can find in the chat real quick. Give me 2 seconds. It was
A bit of a blowout at
yeah, it
the
was
end.
yeah, it was we just yeah, we I mean it like I said, just the two of them together did not help anyone's case. And yeah, so I sit there and I play, a little prank on the meantime. I say your times. I said, here we go. It was 3 minutes, 57 seconds and 5 minutes and 13 seconds. So, and I go, a little prank. I was like, all right, Laura, I'll see you guys tonight at Tribal Council. Uncle, you can instantly just look, if you look at it carefully, Uncle is just instantly relieved. Like, and
Yeah,
that's just,
absolutely. I mean, yeah, you never want to be that far down in the numbers. Losing three in a row would just be terrible for that tribe, and so I
yeah.
think it was really good for them to win. And so we go over to Ankla, and they finally won something.
Which
They're finally happy.
I have to do it
Yeah,
for
go ahead.
YouTube purposes. There's a trigger warning on for sexual assault on this it was nothing too bad, so I decided to put it in. We did talk about football, but anyone who does go back and watch the episode or does, I have to put it out there for YouTube purposes. That's all we really talk about it. But you see that good. You can continue from there.
Yeah. So we get to like the big main tribe chat, and it's mostly Andy talking to himself about
Yeah.
football, and like talking about the Cleveland Browns for 15 minutes,
Which what a
which is
character.
always fun. Okay, listen, when I was taking my notes for this, I was watching back the episodes at like 1.5 speed, right? And whenever I would get to Andy talking, like I was like, wait, am I actually at 1.5? Because he talks so slowly that I didn't realize that I was at 1.5. And I mean this in the best way possible, but he kind of reminds me of Dan Foley from Survivor 30. It's like the look and the beard and like the way he talks. Um, but I mean, just amazing character. I mean, you could tell like after like the fifth or sixth minute that people were kind of tired of the football talk, but he just kept going.
Yeah, and he's just like, and he just sits just all of the rooms. I'm sitting there trying to find the most interesting talk because it's just in there. Andy's just sitting there talking like this, and it's like, and then it's like, yeah. Then Alex like, yeah, so I like musical theater. And then Nick's like, oh, I did musical theater. And then Andy's like, I'll say it's like I do improv. It goes on about improv for 15 minutes. Like, what a guy! Like he
Yeah,
did an
we
interview.
love him though.
Oh, we love him, but like in his interview, I remember. I mean, we were in a production chat. I was like, me and Bill are like looking at her like we gotta cast this guy. Like he just goes on. We're just like, you're like, we're thinking the same thing, right? Like he just he'll talk your ear off. Like great
Yeah, what a
guy, but
legend.
we're
Uh,
literally what a legend. But oh,
Yeah, and so we get into some of the confessionals from this tribe as well. We see Ben trying very, very hard to get the idol. You know, he's messaging people 30 million times. He's asking me on the confessional if I can send him to Matt. I'm like, no, I can't do that for you.
yeah, like
He was trying very hard. He was taking square roots of three. You know, it's he was doing insane things. And then
everything.
and then we cut immediately to Nick, who actually found the idol. And you know, he was saying that, you know, he pretty much wants to use it immediately. You know, the only other org he's played, he was the first boot, so he just wants to make the merge. And so he's planning on using it as soon as possible, which we'll
Yeah,
get into eventually,
yeah. I
how
mean,
that plays out.
Elijah, who played with him that first story, but already much better gameplay from Nick. I'll say, like,
Yeah, absolutely. I think in the first game you played, maybe like he played a little bit too hard, too fast, and I think he realized that. And I could tell in this game he was definitely, you know, trying to stay under the radar,
yeah,
maybe a little bit too much to his detriment, but it ended up like getting him to survive those first two votes,
yeah,
and now he's in a decent spot with an idol, so he's
right,
definitely improved.
right. And we do see like looking at it like and so the funny thing is that he actually messaged Anchor, which I didn't give to Ben. I know Ben's gonna watch this and be like, "Oh, I said Anchor." Yeah, but Ben, when you were saying Anchor, you were being specific. At that point, I specifically said, "Hey, hint, hint, wink, wink. The idol's on Matt's photo," and he says, "Oh, Anchor." At that point, I know he's seeing it. So yeah, Ben was on right there with the Anchor because you see, we ultimately said, "Hey," I said, "Hey, just in case you want to know, Parrot and Anchor." Hey, that's much as a hey. Here's an idol hint without saying here's an idol hint. And we see ultimately Miles got so quickly, but yeah, he was sitting there like anchor, anchor. I'm like, what? I was like, I think at one point I said I was like, oh, I was trying not to hard. I wanted to be like, what about an anchor? But you realize you can't say that. I'm like, what you say? He's like anchor, and I was like,
Yeah, it's weird because it's like the name of the tribe, but also, you know, the idol, and it sort of has to be a thing where you have to find the specific thing.
yeah, but
So unfortunately, it wasn't
yeah,
specific enough.
yeah. Like I said, we see that Nick did answer, just answer anchor, but at that point, yeah, we know it's the one from Matt's picture, like because we had to have Martin put look at Matt's picture, because I didn't want that to not be found at that point, except everyone was just looking for it, and I felt so bad.
Yeah.
But it wasn't that hard to clear apparently because we see Miles found it. But yeah, we got to it. All those confessionals, everyone just in there like, yeah, we're finally winning. Kind of just we finally get to relax. It's been a stressful 4 hours at this point. That was not this not go quick. Those watching, I think it was 16 hours. From start to finish at the end. But obviously, we're at like hour four at this point. Then we get to Loro, and oh, we were waiting for Loro to go tribal, and wow, was it a treat that we were waiting for?
Yeah, this was an amazing this was an amazing round of just like from start to finish. I mean, you have you have Cody there, and I mean, most of the people in the tribe want to vote him out. You know, people have their different reasons. You know, if he was a last minute addition, if he didn't have materials, some people were saying like, oh, it's just he's not like participating. But you know, any way you slice it, he was pretty much the consensus.
Mhm.
And Cody hates everyone, of course. But in this round, seems to have a special distaste for Hart. And so I think that's who he wants to go for. But if that wasn't enough, this is also sort of the round where Mitchell starts to be crazy and messy. Um, so apparently, even though everyone was mostly going for Cody, Mitchell was pitching Becky's name in a room to Andrew. Andrew goes over to Becky with Austin, and he's basically like, yeah, Mitchell's doing this weird stuff. Like, I don't want that to happen. And they're like, oh, okay, that's weird, but let's still do Cody. At one point, Hart is in a room talking about Cody, and Cody comes in as Hart's saying these things, and Hart just keeps going. And so Cody's like, I'm in the room, right? And Hart's like, yeah, I know, but I don't care. They start arguing, and then Hart gets pulled for a confessional, so it's very awkward, where it's just Cody heated, and Andrew's just kind of like, yeah, man, that sucks.
Yeah, like Hart,
So yeah,
you're very clear. Like, yeah, I'm about to vote you up. I'm just gonna try to be nice. Like, this is awkward for me. Like, which again
yeah,
just shows how polarizing Hart is. Like, yeah, I know you came in the room, but like, I was already talking shit, so I'm just gonna keep talking shit. Like, that's anyone who knows Hart. Listen, I'm gonna realest motherfucker out there. If he's gonna say something, he's gonna say it to your face and does not care. Yeah, if I'm already saying it, I'm gonna say. The amount of times I've seen Hart just flame out of tribals or during the merge because he calls people out, just does not care. And I think that's what's so amazing. Hart. I mean, hey, it's gotten to the end and won a few times, so he's not afraid of it. And I think that speaks wonders to how well Hart is liked and everything. That like, why lie about it? You came into the room. Yeah, I'm voting for you. Which very interesting because we'll get to that.
yeah.
We'll
I think
get to that.
it was definitely entertaining, but I think from a game perspective, it was a questionable move because we do have shot in the dark in play this season. And, usually when shot in the dark is in the play, you don't want to tell the
Yeah.
person
Right.
that you're voting for them. And if you do, or it gets out somehow, you want to have a backup plan. And
Right.
during this round, it seemed like they didn't really have a backup plan.
Right.
You want to talk more about that?
Yeah, and then we see some people like Luke saying, "Hey, I'm gonna throw a hinky vote," and just be fun. And then we see like Hart's like Mitchell's kind of pissing me off a little bit here. And Mitchell's like, I'm gonna keep my eye on him, like typical Hart. And Hart's for certain Mitchell's like, no, maybe I don't want to vote for Cody, so I'm like, Becky's not getting traction, so maybe I'll vote for Hart or someone else. So we get to tribal, and everyone's just being super slow, super shady, just very quiet, cool, collects herself, and Cody's a dumbass. Cody knows what's happening. And Cody goes into his voting special and says, "My vote is no. Fuck you. I'm playing my shot in the dark." And I was like, "All right, here we go." And we're sitting here, and we'll get to the votes in a second. But I don't. We see how it ends up ultimately adding up, and I didn't even think that this is a possibility. So I was like, "Yeah, this is not going to work." Bye, Cody. And we go through the voting process. We see there's three hanky votes, which is very important in the next minute or so. Care to explain what happens, Elijah?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, honestly, they should have had a backup plan. They should have had a split vote or something, or like some organization, but it was just so messy. Um, Luke, I mean, in his confessional, he said he wanted to throw a hanky vote, and so he did. He ended up voting for Becky, who, during his voting confessional, he was like, "This is someone I want to work with." But like maybe if I vote for her and like she reacts a certain way, it'll tell me like where she really stands. So that's where that vote came from. Mitchell ended up voting for Hart. I think during his voting confessional, he actually did say, in case the shot in the dark is
Yeah.
played. So there's a semblance of strategy in there.
Yeah. And then
And then yes,
Hart voted for
Hart
Mitchell.
votes for Mitchell because he's Hart. He's Queen motherfucking Hart, and he will do what he wants. Um, so that's how we ended up with those three hanky votes. And go ahead and say what happened next.
Yeah, so then we say, all right, so usually we have some of them roll dice. We said, hey, Cody does their dice. We're gonna be fair and have him quad a number. He goes, I'm gonna go with four. Marvin rolls. It's a four. Cody's success like it's a shot dark. So here we see the votes coming out. Cody does not count. Cody does not count. Cody. And all of a sudden we're here sitting there. There's like Hart. And you see Hart just immediately not like, yep, I just got shot and darked out. Then it's going Becky, and I'm sitting there. You can see actually my face turn because I'm sitting there reading the last room. I'm like going, oh, this is going to. You see me start turning. I'm like, wait, one vote left. I'm like, this is going to rocks. I was like, we're going to rocks, and everyone's faces were just like, what the actual fucking just happened? Because we just went from Cody being a clear vote to him successfully getting the shot in the dark, which is on its own just the fact we talk about it, the fact that Cody hits a shot in the dark on its own is just and then we have three hinky votes. So we're going to rocks. Like, yeah. So we see
Yeah.
the. Uh,
It's just absolutely crazy. I mean, like the fact that, tie votes go immediately to rocks, something we said right at the marooning is something that definitely, came into play here. I think if there was a revote, probably Mitchell would have been voted on the
oh,
revote.
easily.
But yeah, I mean, who knows for sure, but like this really puts a twist on it. And, this is especially another reason why they should have had a plan going in. But, better for TV that they didn't. We end up with Cody safe from the shot in the dark. Hart, Mitchell, and Becky all safe because they were the ones who tied. So that means on the wheel were who was on the wheel? Miles, Andrew, Austin, and Luke.
Yeah.
And eventually, Marvin spins the wheel and we see Luke, the person who threw one of those hanky votes, rocked out,
Yeah.
sort of voted himself out.
Yeah. And we see me going, I would say the tribe has spoken, but I think the game has spoken at this point for poor Luke. Like the tribe that was not the tribe's doing, that was the game saying, fuck you, Luke, here you go. Get cut a raw deal. We see a good episode title from Cody there, going, that's funny as fuck. Because I mean I had to put that in for poor Cody. He gets shot in the organ. That's exactly how I felt. I was like, there's and you think you could see it in my face. I'm like, there's no way. Everyone's face, like even mine, they're like, did this just happen? Like, because I'm good. You were in those confessionals. I don't think we ever like were like, oh wait, this is a chance it's happening. So I think we kind of blew past the fact that it's a shot in the dark and didn't prepare for it. So that was like a full 2 minutes of awkwardness. I had to put it in the episode because it was literally that awkward. Everyone just in there like processing this. I'm like, I have to just. But yeah, poor.
Yeah, it was absolutely crazy. And so, we lose Luke here, which is I really wanted Luke to go further. Obviously, he got sort of screwed by luck. I mean, he's a great character. He's
Yeah,
great confessionals. I wish he would have went a little further. At the same time, I'm also sort of happy Cody gets to say because Cody is amazing as well.
yeah.
We see Luke, the game has spoken, and on the way out, he says, "Someone here has an idol, and I know who it is." To which Cody says, who?
Yeah, that
Would
would
be
have been
nice to know.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, we got that. Which ultimately, Miles did tell him
Yeah,
that he had the idol. But that's really funny. And we can see Miles almost, if you look carefully, his eyeballs would drop to the ground.
yeah.
Like very telltale signs you could tell. Miles almost blew his cover there. But then ultimately we get into the final words of Luke, and he's just in there hysterically laughing himself. He's like, I should have thrown the straight vote on Mitch. Like, damn, like this is hilarious. What just happened? Like, you see the same thing I said, and things like what the fuck just happened? Like same thing I said in their final words there. Luke is just in there laughing hysterically. We get to Luke coming back in this game, and he keeps interrupting Julia, and Julia's breaking down laughing because he's like, "Am I at edge of extinction?" And we can see Luke just the excitement in his voice. He's like, "Oh, I'm gonna come. This is gonna be fun. I didn't piss Bob," and he's like, "I didn't piss anyone off. I didn't do anything wrong. This is great. I'm in a great position." Which he'll get to that to see too. Ultimately, who would have came back? Because I'm pretty sure it's Luke. I
Oh
mean, in
yeah.
this situation, yeah, Luke would have been
I
voted
think
back
you
in
would
had.
have to, if you get rocked out, then you should get voted back in.
Yeah, yeah,
I think it probably would have happened that way.
yeah. And ultimately, I think that's what would have happened. But we end up moving on to our next episode, and this is the yeah. Go. You want to go? I'm drawing blank on the challenge here.
Yeah, so we had the memory challenge
Yes.
where, you go into the woods, you memorize a certain layout of props. Originally, we were going to have them, recreate the props. But some people don't have materials, so we ended up just having them, write down the order and the number of things
Mm,
in order on a piece of paper. So it was first to three would win, 1v1 matches. We started with Bennett for Ankla versus Becky for Laura. Bennett ended up, or Becky actually came back first, but she ended up getting it wrong, so Bennett got the point after he got it right. Next round, we got the two captains, Alex and Andrew. The first round, neither of them got it right, so they had to go back.
Andrew was so close, but he put two soda cans instead of one. Andrew had it, and he knew what he
Yeah,
did wrong. Gets
yeah.
there.
And so, the second round they go back and they come back and you can tell Andrew knows he's got it. Like he he made a simple mistake the first time, but he's got it next, he's got it this time. But Alex came back first on the redo, and Alex got that right.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
Ankla's up 2-0,
And I
and
was good. I will say, like Andrew's facial expressions, I didn't get to see this in season one because he's out so fast. Andrew's facial expressions, when gets him, are amazing. When he's mad, he wears that on his face. He's like, "I have this right. I have it written down first." We're like, Alice got back first, and you can just tell the annoyment on his face. Like, he's such a character, and I didn't realize it. Like, it's like his face shows so much about him, and it's fantastic. I love it. I didn't catch this in the first season, obviously, but yeah, he could tell he was pissed about that one.
yeah, great moment for for him there. And then we get to the third round. It's Andy versus Miles, and Andy gets back first, and he gets it right. There's a little bit of a curveball at the end. There was a spaghetti on top of a ball, threw them for a
Yeah,
little bit of a loop, but then Andy ended up getting it right. So clean 3-0 sweep for Ankla there, and they
yeah,
end up winning immunity again.
yeah. Which I will say, the funny thing is, you remember I put the pictures. So very fun story. I don't know if I told you this, guys, in the production chat. Told them in the reunion chat, which I'm not sure if you're in or not. Um, so when Bill recorded that document that was recorded turned itself into a Photoshop document, so it can't be opened. It's a corrupt file.
Oh wow.
So like the so whatever reason, but him sharing the screen of the pictures turned itself into Photoshop. And
Oh,
I can't open it. So that's why I had to put a little picture up because I was like, well, this is what I have to do. So
that's
anyone
funny.
anyone who's watching this, that's a little behind the scenes stuff that we had that breaker room recorded, but for whatever reason, we just had to make it a picture. So poor Bill would have to be sitting there going, let me do this real quick. He decided to do it beforehand. And I said, that'd be easier. Don't put yourself through stress. Next time, I have to figure out an easier situation for this because, or an easy version of this challenge because, yeah, it turned itself into Photoshop documents. Is why you see little squares of me and Marvin, little behind the scenes. But yeah, we get into Ankla, and what are they? They're just kind of blabbering, talking about. I think the hurricane with Amy and other stuff, right? Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, not much went on in the big tribe chat, talking about Amy's hurricane.
yeah,
She's in Puerto Rico, and they had a hurricane at the time, so she was stuck in her house with a bunch of canned food and using the game as a distraction, but it seemed to die down as the game went on.
yeah,
Um, Throughout the confessionals, we see saying, he pretty much wants to use his idol at the next opportunity. Um, and in this string of confessionals, we basically everyone loves Ben, apparently. Amy thinks Ben is her number one. Bennett likes Ben as his number one, along with Amy. Alex really feels good about Ben, so does Nick. And we see, the four-person alliance of Alex, Ben, Bennett, and Amy seeming to want to stick together. But we do get a little bit of foreshadowing from Bennett, where he's like, I'm kind of wary of Alex, as a returning player.
yeah,
He might be fourth on our four-person alliance. I might not want to keep him around for too long. And we see that, possibly come into play later on.
right.
But for now, Bennett said that he would want Nick out next, especially since he voted for him in the last tribal. So
Right.
that's sort of how it's going over there on Ankla.
Yeah. No, we do see that foreshadowing, obviously, and we kind of that's it. They kind of die down. We see that we'll get to Nick's idol later because he ultimately does lie and say this is only good for this round. We'll see that in the future, which is very smart. But he plays it very well. And then we get to Lauro and my boy Mitchell. What are you doing? So messy. Literally, there should be okay. Cody just had played a shot in the dark. Cody doesn't have anything. We know he doesn't have idol. There should be a clear 6-1 Cody. But my boy Mitchell
Yeah.
takes that target room from Cody, puts it right onto it, says, here, Cody, let me take that target from your back, and puts it right on his own. Just
Yeah, just an absolute collapse. I mean, to be fair, going into the round, it wasn't necessarily set in stone. Like some people definitely wanted Mitchell gone just because he had started his messiness earlier, but most people still wanted Cody out for obvious reasons. But Mitchell continues the craziness. He gets into basically, I think the first room he got into in the scramble was with Hart and Cody and Miles, and he's like, "Yeah, like I want this for like let's make this and let's vote out Andrew." Like that is the most random thing. Like I feel
Right?
like he just like pulled a name out of the hat, and we see Miles talk about it later in his confessional, where he's basically like, "Why would I want to do this alliance
Lit-
where
we literally
Hart and
cue
Cody are going at each other? Why would I want to do this?"
we literally have like cue right into Hart and Miles talking to the commercials. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah,
I just what is like he's like this should have been an easy vote is now fucking Mitchell. Like we see Hart
yeah,
go, Her Majesty's just like, why am I with messy people? Like this could have been an easy vote. We would have been good, but now we got to scramble because Mitchell decided to make everyone paranoid.
yeah.
Like
And
just
we see Mitchell. Yeah, we see him sort of wanting to keep Cody around, and like trying to save him by doing this Andrew plan. But, eventually while that's happening, Miles is relaying this information to Andrew and to the other people, and they're basically like switching the vote back on to Miles. Um,
Mitch,
there's a funny little
Mitch.
sequence where Becky and Andrew, they connect and they're like, "All right, we got to go for Mitchell this round." Austin joins. They're like, "All right, Austin, let's let's go
Yeah,
for Mitchell." And then Miles joins. "All right, let's go for Mitchell." And then Hart joins one by one, and they're all like, "All right, let's go for Mitchell." It was just so funny because it was one long take of just one person keep going into the Zoom, and they just kept going.
yeah, and they're just like, yeah. So Mitchell, like, to get the messiness out, Mitchell. This is a triple episode, technically weird way because two episodes cut into one, but one of them was a double episode. So we immediately go to tribal, and everyone's just like, yeah, we're tired of this, whatever, same old tribal stuff, But everyone's like, yeah, we're a little freaked out after what happened last round. I'm sitting there like, you guys are dilly lagging about this. I'd be fucking pissed if I was on this tribe. I don't know about you, but like, who threw those votes? They didn't seem to really care. They're like, yeah, someone threw one. Well, how would you feel? And like, how do you think they handled it here? Because
Yeah, I mean, I remember in season one when I played, there were definitely some weird votes thrown. Most of them were from me, and I think like you know the vote is one of the most like it's the most important thing, and it shows like where your head's at and where the trust is. And if you don't know where someone's voting, then you really don't know how to read them. And so I think more important should have been put on who threw those votes. We see Mitchell owning up to his vote for Hart, but the vote for Mitchell and the vote for Becky weren't owned up to. I mean, granted, the vote for Becky was Luke and he's out,
yeah,
but no one really owned up to the other vote, and so it's just a big mess, and like people don't really know where the trust is exactly. So I think they should have dug a little bit deeper into it. That's just my opinion.
I'd be fucking pissed because three people just sent us to rocks.
Yeah.
If I was Andrew, Miles, and Austin, I'd be pissed. Like if I was Hart and Becky, I'd be like, all right, I'm not on the wheel. Whoever threw a vote on me, thank you. I appreciate you. But like, I don't understand why Andrew, Austin, and Miles really didn't emphasize this, which is especially Miles, who could have just went out with an idol in his pocket.
Yeah.
Like, just literally could have been wheeled out with an idol in his pocket because that's the thing. Because I mean, if you're Miles, you're not thinking about, oh, he probably think I'm good. I'm not playing my idol, even though Cody got a shot in the arc, whatever. He almost goes out with that idol. We see that spun right past them. So I mean, if I was one of
Hmm.
them, I think this would be a lot more emphasis. I'm kind of surprised it really didn't take much of a toll in the game. I think it definitely helped Hart with the chaos and Mitchell. Definitely helped Hart where he didn't have to own up to it. And I think that's a really good part on Hart is that he didn't have to own up to it at this point because Mitchell's owning up to it. Look, Mitchell's one of the sneaky ones. Mm-hmm. At this point, it's causing fractions, which I mean, it's just this is a messy vote. The next vote even for them even gets messier. But yeah, we see Mitchell goes at 6-1 and the look at his face, pure distraught. He did
Yeah.
not see that one coming at all.
This was an absolute blindside. I think what like what made it great is like there was more than one layer to it. It wasn't just like they told Mitchell it was Cody and he believed it. It was what that ended up happening. But Mitchell tried to make a plan. He was convinced that Andrew was going, and then eventually later they were like, I don't think we have the traction for Andrew. Let's just do Cody. And so then he was like, all right, I guess I'll do Cody. And the thing was, he sort of wanted to work with Cody, and he was like, I tried so hard to save you. And so, he thought that, it was this super emotional move. He's like voting out, someone he's really close to, but he has to because he couldn't save him. But in reality, the plan was voting out Mitchell, and he goes out in a unanimous vote. Just absolutely brutal. He had no idea.
Oh, it's a cue for his confessional to mid Code Easy be like, put a winky face. It's funny. He thinks I'm going home. Like, just absolutely hilarious here. Just the absolute look on his face. He's doing what he's like, okay, I'm good. Then you just see, boom, Mitchell, and he's just, what just happened? And he's just like, okay, bye. I just, I just wonder what happened, but he knows he can't ask in this moment. He completely blindsided. I have to say, I blindsided people with orgs. I've seen people blindsided. I have never seen such a reaction out of someone that was
Yeah.
just blindsided
If
out of a
if I'm
game.
not mistaken, I think it's his first org, is that right?
Second,
Oh,
yeah,
okay. So like
yeah,
if you're new, you sort of don't really know how it goes, and if you think if you think you have control, and if you think, you have a good group and it turns out to be wrong, like your whole world is just shattered, and
yeah,
you could just like tell that like it was he was in complete shock,
yeah,
total blindside. You can see in his final words, he just has to take a second to process it,
yeah,
and he's like, my closest ally just voted me out unanimously.
yeah.
Oh, brutal.
Your
Poor
thing kind of,
guy.
your thing, your. Did you take your AirPods out? Something it went again a little weird.
Oh yeah,
Like your
is it
other,
good now?
yeah, yeah, it's better now.
Okay,
But yeah,
it just died. I had to put it away.
gotcha. But no, we do get an episode title for this episode with Miles going, poor guy, because it's just so painful to watch. He's just in the processing. He's like, okay, like even CBC, everyone's been like, yes, I'm gonna get it back in this game. I have a chance. And Moody Mitchell like, oh, okay, like it's just still processing the fact that this just happened. But it's like,
Yeah.
oh, at least I have a chance. It's just so funny, the polar opposite reaction here. But yeah, ultimately we do have, as Elijah pointed out to me before this, an editing mistake on my part. Doing episodes at like 3 a.m. is not a good idea. But anyway, we have the Battleship Challenge. This was actually little insider for those who are watching. We were supposed to swap at this point, but I think it was 8:30 at this point. So we are like, we're doing a double going right into merge. Like we were actually supposed to swap to kind of even out the outcasts that you'll see later on. This episode comes into play. This twist, we were trying to even it out. So we wanted to merge at 12, do two boots. That way there'd be wouldn't be like a 7-4-5 weird split for everyone. Because we felt like it wouldn't be fair for them to sit out and whatever. So we tried to even it out as best we could, and that was best case scenario. Excuse me, but we do see. So we did decide to go right into the kind of a few challenges and go right into it here. Which we see they play Battleship, which was really supposed to be a tribal thing, but we decided, hey, they just put all of them on the board and they go down. We see that, I mean, Laura, all the players are out immediately except for Andrew. And then we just see to what like 15 minutes Andrew's going down and down and down and down and down and just then they're like, all right, keep guessing, keep guessing. Ultimately, we see them sit there guessing the battleship, and then we see that the two immunity winners are Andrew and Andy, safe in the vote. And this is where we get into a little bit interesting stuff here because we see ultimately Laura go first, and this was a little bit of a mess. And I didn't want to put this in here, but there was a split, and we see that they're like sitting there like, like it's would be unanimous. But I wanted to put the suspense of that in there because there's a split plan, and I wanted, but no one saw it coming besides, and it was just a complete fluke on Hart's part. Which, this is, me see that it's a 3-2-1 vote for their tribe ultimately, and yeah, we did see that their tribal unfortunately couldn't be found, but yeah, it's whatever we see that happening, and then we get to the Ankla tribe, which is very interesting. Which I don't know if I put this in the episode, but we see that it's supposed to be Nick. Nick goes, "Yeah, I have this idol, which is really good until 5, but I'm going to tell them that it's good until now," and tells them, "Hey, I'm playing this idol. I don't care." I mean, I think I put that in right. I don't know if I caught it. There's a lot. They
Yeah,
were busy.
yes, I think
Yeah,
that was in
yeah,
there.
yeah,
I think he was with Andy and Bennett, or
yeah.
some combination of people, but he's basically like, I have this idol, I have to play it this round, and so I'm gonna play it. Um,
which he didn't.
Yeah, yes, very, very smart move on his part. I think he was probably going to play it anyways, like basically no matter what. But I think the fact that it's a double tribal and one person has immunity definitely makes it a better play, just to cut down. And I don't think he was aware of the four-person alliance, but in doing this, with him safe and Andy safe, it forces that alliance to turn on each other.
I also see Nick, true hero. Because if I was Nick, I would tell everyone I'm playing that idol, and then I wouldn't play it just to give them a little extra paranoia. But just true hero move on. I say, hey, I don't want the bottom. It's not me. You guys can go after each other. I don't think he knew. I just think he was on the bottom. I think he knew that Andy. I mean, I think he. I don't know if he knew Andy was on the bottom as much. I think he just knew that he was on the bottom and said, "Well, not me." And we see ultimately now this four-person alliance has to prematurely turning on each other because it's not like they have a choice. Nick just
Yeah,
he's gonna play an idol, which I mean, good on him. I think, like I said, I don't think he knew about this alliance, but he definitely knew that he was somewhat on the outs. Didn't know to what extent. But yeah, we see that they have to turn each other pre-merge, which just could have been something like a long run. I think we really see that they all felt good with each other, and ultimately we see back to what you were saying with the foreshadowing. But it's like when we get Alex for being a returning player, which he can go for in this game, which makes no sense because we see he ultimately goes down the same exact placement he did last time. But yeah, we see just a mess, and they're all sitting there like Alex like, so who are we voting for?
oh,
And everyone's like, poor Alex was in. He's like, was my name thrown out by a specific individual? And everyone's like, yeah. He's like, so what's the play? Can we vote for him? And they're like, yeah. They just felt bad for poor
yeah.
Alex.
It
Just
was it was very cagey. I mean, I think I don't know. I have a theory that Bennett might have done this move regardless of what Nick did because it seemed like as soon as Nick said I'm gonna play an idol, he was just Bennett was just immediately boom,
yeah.
let's go for Alex. Like he didn't seem like he was phased by the idol thing. So I think it could have happened. Um Eventually, questionable move by Nick to tell Alex that his name is out there, but he does end up doing it. And so Alex is in a room with Andy and Amy and he's like, I think, someone said my name. Do you know who it was? And then they're like, "Oh, who do you want out?" And then he's like, "The person that said my name." And he's like, he kept saying like, "Oh, like my name is thrown out there. I don't like that. I'm uncomfortable with that." I think it was a little too passive.
Yeah.
I think he was definitely it was definitely unfortunate circumstances for him, with the two people that were outside of his alliance being immune. But at the same time, I think like he didn't really do much to try to save himself at the tail end.
Mhm.
It was sort of just like, oh, I guess, this person's throwing my name out. Let's go for them.
Yeah.
And you could tell that Ben and Amy and Bennett didn't want to do that. And
Yeah.
then right before tribal, Alex is in a room with Nick and Ben, and he's like trying to get them to vote for Bennett, and they're just kind of being like, "Oh yeah, I guess we can do that. Yeah, we'll try." And then you're like, "All right, we got to go tribal." And then Nick's like, "All right, Ben. So original plan with Alex in the room," and Alex is like, "What's the original plan?" And then we go to tribal.
Yeah, I thought that was so perfect. I usually cut out, okay, let's go to tribal, but that interaction, I was like, I have to put that in because it's just, oh. And Alex knows I love him. He's on production now. The kid's great. This was a very, very similar mistake that I think he made to the last time, being very passive. If you remember with Carrie in your season,
Yeah, I definitely think so.
like I
Um,
think it's not as bad. He was more integrated, but
yeah, I mean, it was definitely unfortunate circumstances, but I think it wasn't just the fact that he was a returning player that was the reason that he was on the bottom of the alliance. I think just socially he wasn't on the same level as
mm,
as the other three,
mm,
um, and so that's why he was, you know, the returning player label was, something that you can use to latch on to,
yeah,
but it maybe wasn't like the actual reason.
yeah, yeah. And I will say, I think Alex does survive here if Nick doesn't have the idol. Because I think if Nick doesn't have the idol and say Ben has it, then like maybe Bennett goes and says, "Hey, let's take out Alex this round," and Ben and Amy are like, "Maybe not right now. Let's still do Nick."
Hmm.
So I think Nick is saved here by the idol. I generally think had Nick not had the idol, Alex doesn't go home here. I think Alex kind of got caught a much raw deal. Like I think Alex was a little bit more passive. He played it off a little bit better, but like I think ultimately his raw deal was because Nick had the idol here. Had Ben gotten it like he knew where it
Yeah.
was, like I think
And
Alex kind
yeah,
of
and not just the fact that Nick had the idol, but also like his mentality of like, I'm just gonna play it to try to get to merge.
yeah.
Like, if Nick, because I don't know if Nick was like totally aware of his position on the tribe. So like, if he just had a different mindset of like, only playing the idol when you like really need it, he might have, held on to it and, not told everyone he was gonna play it. So it was just an amalgamation of a lot of things that
Yeah.
ended up, making that Alex boot possible. But eventually, when it got down to the nitty gritty and it was the four had to turn on each other, he was just at the bottom.
Yeah.
It's that simple.
Yeah. Which we see ultimately Cody then we get the tribals, we ultimately see that the footage was lost somewhere. I'll have to find it. I don't know exactly where it is, but we see Cody goes out in 3, 2, 1. Cue to the Ankla tribal. We go through, they ask their questions, blah blah. And I heard to say this, I'm gonna say big mistake on the Anklas here. Big mistake. And you know what I'm gonna say. They got very lucky this round. You know what their mistake was? No one here threw a vote.
Yeah.
And what did Alex do? Comes in the confessional, goes, I know it's me. I'm not gonna make the same mistake I did last time. If I'm gonna go out, I'm gonna go out making sure I played it and didn't regret it. Plays his shot in the dark, ultimately doesn't get it, and goes out, I guess 5-0. But huge mistake on their part,
Yeah.
not to
And
throw at least one vote.
yeah, in this pre-merge, we saw three out of the
The
five
three
boots,
six, 3 out of 6.
three out of this yeah, three out of the six boots, play their shot in the dark. One of them was successful. Like, it's definitely something you have to consider when you're going into a vote. I think that you always need to have a backup plan, and in this specific case, it didn't come back to bite them because it wasn't successful. But in that chance that it happens, as you saw with the Cody vote, like, you need to have the backup plan if you do a split or something.
Yeah.
We saw the split end up happening on the actual Cody boot, so they
Mm,
learned from their mistake there. But you
yeah.
always have to have a backup plan when it comes to shot in the
Yeah.
dark, just so that it
Yeah.
doesn't blow back on you.
Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, ultimately, we see them. And Laurel almost made the same mistake too by not doing it with Mitchell, but Mitchell was just clearly
Oh
blindsided,
yeah.
so they lucked out. But here with Alex, it's just like, I didn't do this last time. Not fooling me again. Plays it and doesn't get it, unfortunately, and Alex becomes voted out. We get Cody actually dipped. So we don't see Cody's final words because Cody dipped from the Zoom. We had to go get him. I love Cody. We're just like, whatever. Fuck these
Love him.
motherfuckers. I'm out. Like, dipped from the Zoom. Didn't go to confessional one, Julia. Um, but then we see, Alex goes his final words. Um, Whatever it is, I'm not sure I agree with the logic. Is what it is, whatever. Q to Julia saying, all right, you're gonna stay here for a minute, but we're sending you right back in. And we get back in. We're going, I'm sitting there like, all right, everyone. Like, I was like, so anyone catch on what season this is? Heart Girls Per Rollins. And I was like, Heart, what do you think that means? And Heart's like, Outcast twist. And I was like, let's bring them in, you know. And ultimately we see Andrew and everyone here just like Andrew's point is just like, I understand the frustration. The great character. He's just like, and they're like, oh, here we go. All these people just voted out. I'm sure it's not mad at us, but just look on his face like, oh. At this point, it's I think 9 o'clock. You know, yeah, it was getting late. It was like 8, close to 8 around now. Actually, I think it was 9 o'clock by the time we're done with Outcast and everything. I think, but yeah, we get to it. That happens. We go through. We do our challenges, and like this is
Yeah.
from the exit, so we're gonna talk about it. Tanner stacking cups.
Yeah, it was an interesting challenge. I mean, there from a production standpoint, there was a lot to take into account.
Yeah,
Especially since we didn't swap, we didn't know what the numbers were going to be like. With 16 people, there's no way you're going to get even split,
yeah,
in three tribes. We ended up with five, five, and six. we were originally gonna do like a bunch of different things for the challenge, but we had to scale it down. Some people didn't have materials, so it ended up being you had 6 people run. If you had a tribe of 5, you would just repeat one person.
Yeah,
You would alternate between a person bouncing ping pong balls into cups, 6 of
right.
them, and then another person stacking and unstacking a pyramid. And the person who went last had to do both, but it ended up becoming sort of a simple challenge. And I think because of that, the results ended up being very close.
Yeah,
There were basically no mess ups. I think Mitchell did a little mess up with his cup stacking. Tanner was a little bit slow with his, and we did see a little bit of a mix up
huh,
with Hart where he didn't realize that he had to do both. So we had to
yeah,
take that into account.
yeah,
Like take a little bit of time
yeah,
off of their final
yeah.
time.
Yeah, there was a lot of confusion with that. There was a lot of like, we got in. Everyone's trying to make sure. It just got confusing with the fact that the Outcast had 6. People weren't understanding what they had to do. So I said, you know what? And they want 30 seconds. Said I'm giving you guys 20. And ultimately, I was like, listen, you guys. I don't want to say this to them. Like they're gonna be happy 20. They won the challenge. Like their first place in the 20 seconds. They don't need the 30. Like And ultimately, we see it was roughly about 20 seconds. So we did compromise with them. I was like 10 seconds, doesn't matter still. But I was like, we did compromise them and give them 20, which ultimately we see it was a really long time. Ricard didn't realize, which is,
Mm.
it was a mess up on both ends, I think. So I was willing to give the time back for that. And we saw that, does in what? I think it was 114 for Laurel. I think it was 113, 114, 117, right? Something like that. It was like,
Yeah, something like that. It ended up being very close.
yeah.
Yeah. And then
But
in the end, the outcast did end up getting last. So the scenarios for this were if the outcast got last, there was no change to the cast. The outcast would be gone, and you would go into the merge with 5 and 5. Um, if the outcast got first or second, they would be able to vote one person in, and the tribe that got last would have to vote someone out,
yeah.
still making it 10 for the merge. And then I believe if the outcast got first, they would vote 2 people in.
No, we were originally going to do that,
Oh
but we
yeah,
couldn't
we
do
had
it
to change that.
because, yeah.
But anyway, we were gonna be able to get to 10 people in the merge. There's possibility of an outcast getting voted back in, which we think probably would have been Luke. But in the end, there was no change. The outcast did end up getting last, and at
Yeah.
the end, you announced to everyone, finally at 9 o'clock, drop your balls, we're merged.
It finally 11 o'clock. I just looked it up. It was 113, 114, 117. Yeah, but finally at 9 o'clock, we are merged. You see everyone just so tired but so happy. And I mean, we still have obviously at this point we're at the merge episode. We were caught up on the recap. We still have a long way to go. This not much a spoiler, but it ended at 3:30 in the morning.
Yeah, it's a very long season.
I will say
Overall for the pre-merge, yeah, go ahead.
I'll say this. Our jury ended up falling asleep, so there will be a weird rope reveal at the end of this. I'll say this: we had to do it the whole next day. So just putting that out there now. Not telling you who wins, but yeah, the vote reveal was the next day. We were not doing that, but go ahead.
Yeah. So I mean, I think overall for the pre-merge, it was definitely an exciting batch of episodes. You had a lot of different dynamics, with people coming in last minute. You had returning players. There was a lot of stuff to take into account. Of course, we had the amazing tribal council with the successful shot in the dark, the wheel spin. We had 2 other shot in the darks played. So definitely a crazy pre-merge.
Yeah,
But I think despite that, going into the merge, it seems like the tribes are pretty much united. And, in terms of numbers, it is 5 versus 5.
yeah,
So anything can really happen at the merge. We'll see who wins immunity. We'll see what happens with the vote. In terms of advantages, Nick has played his idol, so there is no more Ankla idol. Miles is still holding on to the Laurel idol, and there could be a new idol for the merge Kofre tribe that
yeah.
could be put into play. So all that next time.
Hey, who knows, Elijah? That frantic idol that everyone was looking for that turned out to be a steel boat could be that too. Elijah knows, but
Could be that.
yeah, um, you know, very much, I'd say much better. Nothing against anyone who played last season. I mean, love everyone, great season. But I just think ultimately this pre-merge is a lot more fun and a lot more entertaining to watch than last season. I think last season was very predictable. Every single boot kind of seemed for the most part. I mean, I think there was only one split last season, But I think this was just splits, votes here, votes there, shot in darks here, successful shot in darks. Like it just
Yeah.
and polarizing characters and Hart and Cody. I mean, no, I'm just I don't know what I'm gonna do with confessionals now with this tribe. We're just like not gonna have that person who'd be like, yeah, I hate everyone here. Like it's gonna be hard to edit. Like I just knew I would always. I was like, why couldn't it be a filler here? I'm like, Cody saying he hates his tribe. Like just it's gonna be
We'll just play
upsetting.
that confessional over and over again.
Yeah, exactly. Just um, Cody definitely gone too soon. 100%. But yeah, we see, like I said, this is ultimately a much more fun pre-merge, and I think it leads up to a very suspenseful merge here, which will you know what happens, but ultimately you guys don't. But yeah. So I think we got to come up with something to do here because these doesn't want us to do MVP, so I can't say it too loud. But we can't do MVP because that's DCP's thing. So do we do something here? Or what do we think?
Oh gosh. Hmm. Okay, what if we do MVP but we just call it a different thing?
um, you
Or we could
can
like, I don't know. Oh.
yeah, we can do something. We can do something. Why don't we just who like three people and they get 1, 2, and 3 points? A little bit different. Not do the fan favorite polls. That
Yeah,
didn't
I
it didn't
think
work
like
out.
the
They kept tying on me, so I gave up on it.
yeah. I don't know if you know what the chizzy points are, but we could do it like that.
What is that? Go ahead.
Oh
And we
gosh.
explain, and this will be the explanation for me and everyone else as well.
Okay, so they usually do it. It's something that Shannon Gates does for our hap, but they usually do it every episode. But you give 3 points to the person who you think did the best, 2 points to the next person, and 1 point for the next person. So your top three, and they just get points and they accumulate through the season. And so each person picks, 3 people, one to give 3 points to, one to give 2 points to, and one to give 1 point to, and then those add up throughout the season.
Okay, that's fair. We can do something like that, or so if we want to go back and do with episode one, I'd say we can overlap too because I think there's a lot.
Yeah.
I'd say for episode three, I mean your options here are really well person alliance. I'd probably go. I'd say I'd give Ben just because I think Ben's kind of you see from the beginning, everyone's the one who really feels good with Ben here. Ben is definitely controlling what's going on in the Onkla tribe in the pre-merge. We'll see that throughout too. So I think I give 3 to Ben. I'd go 2 for Alex because I think he integrated himself much better here. He's very good, and I think I'd even give 1 to Bennett Bennett because I mean we see he's new player gets himself in alliance immediately. This is his first org. Also, just very good confessionals and everything. He's very entertaining. So I'd say I give 3, 2, 1 to that
Okay, nice. Who do
for
you give
episode
your
one.
2 points to?
Alex, like I said, he is a returning player. We saw he really never grabbed his footing. I think he grabbed his footing a lot better this time around. And at this point, I didn't think he was going when he did. So from in-game's
No.
perspective.
Okay, so for the premiere, I gotta give my 3 points to Miles just because he got that idol, and he won the immunity challenge. So I'll give my 3 points to him. For my two, I'll go for someone on Ankla. I think at this point in the game, I was most impressed with Bennett, just because it seemed like he sort of outlined the tribe dynamics pretty well, I think, from the start. Probably give my two to him. And I'll also go with a returning player for my one, but I'm actually going to give it to Andrew. I think he I think he was integrating a little bit better just as like a normal person on his tribe. It was like maybe he wasn't, so out there as a captain figure. And I think he got into his group pretty well. I think that obviously it was helped by the fact that they won. But I think, he picked the tribe that ended up winning the first immunity. So I think he should get a little credit there. So I'll give my
Okay.
1 point to him.
All right. And I guess it moves on to episode two, which I mean I think this is hard.
We're not going to give it to Hart for the figure skating.
Yeah, no hard. You're not gonna figure it. I would just say I'm gonna give 3 to Cody just for pure entertainment value here. This is a hard episode. Cody just brought joy with the I someone in my tribe messed up. Um, I'm having trouble giving to anyone Ankla because I feel like this was just such an obvious boot. I
Hmm.
mean, who was the one who I would say Bennett because he's the one who threw the vote on Nick. only one that had a strategy there.
That's true.
Yeah, and I would say I would give the one to actually. I'm gonna do something. I'm gonna give it to Luke because it was Luke who said he wrote down, or no, it was Luke or Andrew who said they wrote down what the other tribe was saying that what do you call it?
Oh, yes, that was Luke.
Yes, I'll give the one to Luke for actually having
Actually, I
like a
think
lower
Andrew
stretch.
did too. I think they both
I
did.
think they both did it, but ultimately Luke was one said it. So I'll give Luke. Luke goes next episode. I'll throw a point at Luke. We see Andrew's still in
Give
the
him
game.
one
He,
for
he
the
has time.
road.
He has time to get points. So yeah, I'll give him Luke a little point there. Shout out to Luke. I'll give him a point for right there.
Okay, nice. So for this one, I'll give my three. Honestly, I'll give my three to Alex for this round. It wasn't super clear how the Tanner votes started, but he was the person who, at least in the episode, was sort of narrating what was going on. Like he was very aware of, Tanner did this, and this was a really bad thing to do, and that's why he needs to go. And then in this episode, I think originally from the start, he was like, "Yeah, Garrett needs to go," and that's what ended up happening. So I'll give him a little bit of credit there for how the first two votes went out. I'll give my 2 points also to Bennett just because of he definitely has his finger on the pulse of the game in terms of strategy, and he could tell that Nick um, was on the outskirts, and so he decided to throw his vote there. Um, and since you gave yours to Luke for writing down, I'll give mine to Andrew again for coming up with a good strategy for the challenge.
Yeah. All right. So there we go. There's that. Moving on to episode 3. I mean, I think we both have the same number one. I mean,
Yeah, it's gotta be.
it's got to be Cody. I mean,
Yeah.
with the
I mean,
successful
just
shot there.
yeah. I mean, he's gonna be gone soon. We got to give him some points. I mean, just the pure craziness of him hitting a shot in the dark. He's got to get three from both of us.
Yeah, exactly. I would go ahead and give my I'm trying to think. I think I'd give my two to Andy just for just a man talking to himself, being so entertaining this episode. Definitely like this tribe. And he just sit there like he's having a blast. I gotta give him a I'll give him 2 points. And then I would say I would give one to no I'll give no I'll give that the next episode. I don't know. I don't know if I give 1 point to because I don't think anyone in Laurel deserves this because it's just a mess. No, we'll give one. I don't know. We'll just give one to Luke just for the pure entertainment video
Yeah.
value of getting himself out. I'll give another one to Luke, throw even though he went out of this episode for the
Okay.
three game.
So my three goes to Cody, obviously. I'll give my 2 points to Nick since I think this is when he found his idol.
Oh, sorry.
So I'll give him a little bit. I'll give him those points there, and then you know what? He's gonna be gone next episode. I'll give Mitchell credit because he was the only one who actually said, I'm doing this in case the shot in the dark is played, which is more you can
Yeah,
say for
yeah,
anyone else on Loro. So I'll give Mitchell a point there.
yeah. Okay, sounds good. Yeah. So now, okay. So now we have episode 4. Right back, my three is going to Heart. I think Heart just like I'm not going to tell them who I voted for. I'm going to let the chaos play out around me. Really works in his strategy. I think you give it to Heart here. Um, I think you. I'm gonna give two to Andrew. He really kind of got the ball rolling. Like, yeah, now Mitchell's being messy. He's got to go. And I'll give one for Nick because I mean I think he's kind of really getting himself integrated. He found the idol last round. He's gonna kind of he's trying to find him now. He's just sitting there like I'm gonna use this to find my space. And we see him have that confession. He's like, yeah, maybe I'll use it sooner to kind of secure my merge spot. He's thinking a couple of steps ahead, so I'll give it to him for that.
Nice. All right. I'm gonna give my three to someone I don't think we've mentioned yet, Becky. I think in this vote she sort of like created a group around her, and I think the tribe dynamics are so weird for this tribe, but I think she's definitely towards the center of this tribe, and I think you could tell because especially in that scene where she's with Andrew and someone gets added, another person gets added, another person gets added, and like they decide the Mitchell vote. I think she deserves a lot of credit for that, so I'll put her there. For my 2 points, I'm gonna give it to Miles because he was the person who was sort of like he was the person who really made the blind side on Mitchell a blind side because he was at first he was convincing Mitchell like, oh, it's going to be Andrew, and then he was the person to tell Mitchell, yeah, we should switch it to Cody. So I think he deserves a lot of credit there.
Okay.
So I'll give my 2 points to Miles. Um, and I'll throw a point to Queen Heart as well for the same reasons you did.
Yeah, there
He
you go.
deserves all the points.
Her Majesty's gonna be happy. When Her Majesty watched this. Okay. So then leaves us with the double. I mean,
I think we should have
I
another obvious 3-pointer for this one.
you think Andrew, Andy?
Oh, I was thinking Nick.
Oh,
Nick.
Nick. Yes, Nick with the play. Yeah, Nick. Yeah, I'd say Nick. Obvious reasons. Then I'd go with our two immunity winners. I would say Andy because he hit a little bit better, and I would say the one goes to Andrew. I don't think anyone did anything spectacular with a vote in this episode. I think Hart really dropped the ball with getting that plan rolling and really didn't integrate Mitchell. So that's why, again, I couldn't put the edit because of that, because Park completely drops the ball with it. I mean, the both were just, kind of the votes weren't very smart. So I think that's kind of where I go with that.
Yeah. I think the Laura tribal was definitely really messy, so I'm
Yeah.
not going to throw any votes there. But I definitely want to mention Bennett because I think he was the person who sort of put the Alex vote into place.
Mm-hmm.
I think he did a really good job there, so I'm going to give him my 2 points. And then for my 1 point, let's see. Just because she hasn't gotten any points yet, I'm gonna go with Amy. I think she seems to be definitely in that core three on the tribe, and I think even though she's in the core, she's not like a super big threat that's like poking her head up. So I think if something were to happen to that three, she wouldn't
Yeah.
be the person voted out. I think she's positioned really well, and she's in all the conversations.
Right,
So I'm
especially with everyone saying that Ben's their number one. So I think
yeah.
that's a very good point. All right. So I guess you'll come on the recaps now, and you'll be the one to keep track of this. We have special guests too as well. So
Yes. If
it's a
you
new
if
thing
you
to
want to ramble for a little bit, I can add up the points that we have so far.
yeah. So yeah. Coming up, we're supposed to do exits tonight, but Julie messed up her basketball schedule. Love her for that. So we will be doing exits for them tomorrow. I believe. I think the only one we have to get in touch with is Cody. We'll be doing exits, so check that out. I'll make Facebook posts for mm, the Tanner and Garrett ones already up. Luke's will be not Luke's. Luke, we are doing 9:30 on Sunday Eastern Standard Time. As far as Mitchell and them, we will be doing everyone else tomorrow. I will put out the Mitchell post tonight. Get that going. So yeah, if you want to ask exit questions, go ahead for all of our wonderful pre-mergers and outcasts that unfortunately couldn't find their way back in the game. Um, the merge episode is a little bit of a mess. Some more production forgot to hide non-video participants, so it's been taking me a little bit longer to edit that one. I will be working on that tomorrow and hopefully getting it out for Monday. With that being said, there should be hopefully we're finishing it out before survive or long game finishes, which are starts, which is on the 26th. So we should have a few double episodes thrown in there, especially because this merge did go very quickly. As we mentioned, it was at final it was at 9 o'clock at this point, so definitely have that going fast. With that being said, with the long game, we have applications open for one more week. We do have a few more spots left for that casting. If you want to play long game, it won't be here on YouTube, but you'll play it through Facebook, all your chats via Messenger and everything else. If you know what a Facebook org is, you do all that stuff. You'll live stream everything onto the page. You'll be able to enjoy it. It's going to be a lot of fun. Check it out. We are theming after musicals. We're starting with Grease. So if anyone has that, I can leave an application link down below, or check us out on the page. There's an app on the page. If you're on the page, you can message me for an app on Facebook at all if you have me added. But yeah, that's that. So please join us. We do have a couple more spots left, like I said.
Yes. So I'm not completely sure if this is completely accurate because I just did it as fast as I could. But in first, we have a three-way tie. Bennett, Nick, and Cody all have 9 points so far for the first 5 episodes. Um, let's see. Then there's a big gap. We have a couple people with 5 points. Andrew has 5 points. Mile has 5 points so far. Hart has 4 points. Becky and Ben have 3 points. Andy has 2 points. Amy, Mitchell, and Luke all have 1 point. and the rest unfortunately don't have any points. So we'll keep hopefully if we keep doing this format throughout the rest of the season, we'll see who gets the most points by the end. We'll see if that person actually wins. Oftentimes that doesn't happen. And yeah, you can play along at home if you want.
Yeah,
But that's what we're doing.
yeah, it sounds good. Yeah, I think I basically wrapped everything up we could. But yeah, check us out. We will have a lot posted this week because of the exit. So a lot of content coming your way. Good night, everyone.